is already in public ownership in Washington State. And through WWRP, we've asked all of the agencies, look, we're always open to funding truly legacy acquisitions, things that really matter. When we did some work up here in Coopville, because we were able to attach 2 pieces of beachfront with a 3rd piece in the middle and give the public unfettered access to the water. How precious is that? You know, there are those who can live on the water and there's everyone else. Well, everyone else should be able to get there. And everyone else, it belongs to them as well. But we have to have I believe from what happened in 2008 that I even opposed the Discovery Pass. We actually had a amendment at that time to fund it differently. I do not believe we should, there are ways that we can raise money, like the cabins we did over in, at Camel Beach, that help raise money for parks, but it accomplishes the goals that we want in terms of public access. And I just have to say this, because I get teary about this issue. So I was raised, as you know, on the panhandle of Florida. And my dad and mom didn't have much, but we could walk one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. When I go back there, had it not been for the National Seashore Act, the children today and tomorrow and 200 years from now would never have been able to walk the beach I walked as a child. We have a duty to protect access for those who can't afford to live there. And so, there's my answer. I hope it's sufficient.
How do I follow that? I mean, everybody in the legislature knows Norma's passionate about state parks. I will tell you this. First of all, before we go out and try to take on more, we need to do a good job at what we already have. And, you know, I was around when we were gifted, the state, meaning was gifted Kama Beach. And there was a lot of, you know, chatter around that as how, you know, how are we going to maintain, obviously, when you get another park. And one of this category was just unheard of, to be able to put that into our file of parks at the state level. But then everybody came together, started looking at ways to make that happen, and maintaining that beautiful park and its beaches, and making it have the kind of access that everybody wants for our whole state park system was really, really important. You know, we represent, the 3 of us represent, I think, and I tell everybody this every time I introduce myself at the legislature, that I live in the prettiest district in the whole state. And part of that is, you know, the park system that we have right here in Island County, and also the beautiful farmland that is irreplaceable, as is our parks, that are in Skagit. So I think we, maybe as much or more than some at the legislature, really understand how important our parks, our state park system is, how we go about stewarding and taking care of those is hugely important. There have been any number of things looked at during the downturn, as you're talking about, that, you know, where there wasn't enough money to really go around. And so I think that we're really coming full circle back around and trying to make sure that we are implementing the policies around protecting our park systems. We, meaning those of us in the Senate, were recently given a report about all of the state lands in a general sense. And it was being talked about with the Department of Natural Resources that we needed to take on more. And as Norma indicated, I mean, it's just very, very important that we not do things that we can't take, you know, in essence, buy land that we can't take care of. We've seen some of the results of not being able to take care of things properly with some of the fire situations that we had this past summer. So it's a fine balance, how we, appropriate monies and how we spend monies, so we have to pay attention there and really set our priorities and work through that.
Angie and then Kim.
So I just want to say, I hope that on the park situation, you will continue to uphold that position, because I know there's 11 parks in Washington State right now that are up for privatization, including Joseph Whidbey State Park in District 2, and one at Peregrine Lake, where it's proposed to have 100 residential homes put on it and cabins, and at Joseph Whidbey 50 cabins that would all be privately owned. So that's a concerning way to pay for it. But my question is, Washington State right now has not updated their Equal Pay Act since 1943. House Bill 1646 and Senate Bill 5630 would help correct that inequity and would prevent companies from discriminating in pay and promotions based on gender and from denying employees the right to discuss compensation. None of you have voted for either of those bills, and yet they are widely supported. Can you explain why you wouldn't want to correct the 70 cents less for every dollar that a woman gets compared to a man?
Here, I'll start with that. The reason I didn't support that bill is that it's an attorney's job act. I mean, at the end of the day, we are covered as women under federal law and state law currently. As we look at these issues, I want to solve problems without creating greater litigation against employers. Particularly, I don't represent a whole bunch of great big gigantic employers in the 10th District. I represent small and some mid-sized employers and businesses. And the language in two different bills that we saw increased damages, had language that wasn't tight about what would be a violation, and creates more problems than I believe it solved. I'm a woman, I have 3 daughters, I have granddaughters, I've given my life to working with young men and women, hundreds of them over the course of my life. I want them treated equally. But I am not going to vote for something that simply creates more legal conflict and provides a new revenue source for trial lawyers that doesn't accomplish the goal of helping women be successful. And so, I feel kind of strongly about this, because sometimes bill titles have really cool and good goals, but it's in the details where we have to determine whether or not it is good public policy moving forward.
Do you want to talk about women's issues?
I will. I can't say it any better than Norma does. That bill was written by attorneys for attorneys, and that's what that bill is all about. Get past the title.
Right.
You get down into the body of that bill, it's all about the litigation side of it and giving people greater ability to sue their employers. And not only that, it automatically assumes that the employer is guilty. Automatically. At the start of that lawsuit, it automatically assumes that the employer is guilty, and I can't support that. We need to support women, ensure that they are indeed, that the policies of our state are in line with the federal policies when it comes down to pay equality, and support good bills that actually support women and actually do what the title says it does. This bill does not.
It created a cause of action, and that's just plain and simple, without really solving the problem. I can speak from personal experience in my career life before I became a legislator. I was denied a promotion that went to somebody else because, after all, they were a man and had a family to take care of. Never mind the fact that I was a single mom trying to take care of 2 kids. And so I heard that personally. And it was really, really hard. So I get it. I understand that. But it's all in the details of how you put something together. Creating a bill that's going to be a lawyer's dream bill is not the way to solve the problem. So I think that you're going to see more along this line. I think, quite frankly, there has been a lot of improvement in that area since I had this experience. I think that people have learned better. I think that as we work together, a lot of the gender issues have actually just kind of gone away in many respects. But there are still problems, and I know they're there. I see them all the time. So we're not giving up on it, but it's just a matter of how we do it.
Kim?
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say thanks for being here today. I think it's important to talk to us during session, maybe before session, rather than just after session. So I really do appreciate it, because I know it's a busy time for you. But one of the issues I don't hear you guys talk about very much is climate change. It seems like the Senate has stymied every single effort that the governor has initiated to try to reduce climate pollution. And then the other side of the issue, of course, is planning for climate change here in our district, including sea level rise, public health issues like more mosquitoes with warmer, wetter weather, forest fires. But I don't hear coming from the state what kinds of planning we're doing to adapt to these new issues and how, because all the local governments